Wow. I am in utter disbelief. Like, how did this even happen? Okay, I knew that the Uncharted movie would probably be fine. Something comparable to Jungle Cruise, which I thought was decent. Well, I just saw the movie, and comparing it to Jungle Cruise is an absolute insult. Yeah, for this review rant, I'm gonna compare Uncharted a lot to Jungle Cruise. They're both an adventure movie, they both star famous celebrities, and they were released about the same time. Here's the difference. Jungle Cruise had a plot that, while not super compelling or interesting, made sense and was easy to follow. There weren't that many twists, so the focus is just on scenery and the action, both of which are actually good. It's exactly like an attraction at Disney World. Fun, harmless, just not something anyone wants to see again. The same cannot be said for this awful movie. The action and general editing are absolutely abysmal. I could not see what was happening in front of me, and the constant cutting shots made it so that I was never clear on anything that the characters were doing. And the little bits that I saw were also just as bad. Hollywood has been on this kick lately of making nauseatingly CGI fight scenes that lose any charm that real fighting has, culminating in Shang-Chi. And it's no different here. The opening scene starts with some random NPC bending his legs. He literally splits his legs open more than any gymnast that I've ever seen. Like, the human body does not bend like that. And yes, I said NPC because this movie, as if the insulting editing was not enough, is like a video game story. Look, I have never played nor know anything about any of the Uncharted games. I do not own a PS4. So trust me when I say that the movie based off a video game I never even played did such an awful job translating the video game media into a film. The focus is almost exclusively on the story, which is not interesting or understandable in the slightest. It's some sort of treasure hunt for gold, but it's never clear how they know where to get certain items or why they think the items are valuable. They just find a map and say, oh, location must be here. And then 20 minutes later, they realize that their thinking was completely wrong. If it's marked on the map, you go there. If it's not, you don't. How did you even figure out that you were in the wrong place in the first place? Alright, spoiler warning, but I don't care. On top of that, the main threat is, and I speak no hyperbole when I say this, one of the worst villain organizations I've ever seen. They start out fine. The dad of this random guy who's played by Antonio Banderas is in direct conflict with his son because his son wants to keep the business and his dad wants to sell it. So he kills his dad. That's completely logical and very simple. Then this guy starts to have an amazing speech. And I thought, wow, maybe this character is going to grow into a bloodthirsty monster. That would kind of be neat, but nope. He just gets killed and is replaced by this random henchman who I forgot was in the movie multiple times. Well, maybe she's going to lead the company in the next movie. I mean, after all, the last scene does end on a cliffhanger, so there's probably going to be another one made. Guess again, because guess what? She dies. Yup, this company's CEO changed 3 times in this movie. Like, how am I supposed to root against these villains when their screen time is so divided all the time? Twist murders work best when we actually get to spend time with the people. Replacing your villains makes them look weak. How did you think that this was okay? Still, after the events of this movie, this begs the question, who is even leading the company at this point? We don't know of any family that's alive. I mean, I guess it could be this Scottish henchman who has a couple funny lines, but that guy is such a small part of this movie that bringing him back would be so weird. Then again, this movie did end with a big finale against an underdeveloped henchman, so I guess it wouldn't be out of the question for them to do that again. Speaking of underdeveloped, that's every character in this movie. Chloe, whose name I only remember because they said it like a billion times, the most forgettable tag-along I've ever seen. The movie just forgot about her during the climax, and then she comes back in the laziest way. It's honestly incredible. Then she gets into the backstory about her brother died in the war or something. I don't remember. It's just so dumb. Every time her scenes came on, I just imagine a speech bubble indicating a cutscene, because that is genuinely how hollow and boring these characters are written to be. They are not human beings with motivations or interesting backstories. They are puppets meant to affect the terrible story. That is it. Well, other than Sully, I think they did a decent job with him, and I actually liked Mark Wahlberg in this role. Sully has this habit of not trusting people, and they never play an emotional scene, surprisingly. He's just someone who has trust issues, and I like how this movie constantly handicaps him for it. Like when he almost deserts Tom Holland, and then they get caught in an alleyway as a direct consequence. That's a subtle theme they were able to throw in there. Mark Wahlberg is also pretty decent in this role. I mean, the thief with a heart of gold is not the freshest idea, but I think that this performance is good nonetheless. But then there's the other actors. I'm sorry, fangirls, but this movie has convinced me that Tom Holland has one role. He is a very good Spider-Man, and that's it. In this movie, he is playing his interpretation of Peter Parker, except without much of the charm. He's just forgettable. I don't know, maybe it's the god-awful script being so one-dimensionally obvious. Like I said, this movie feels like a very realistic video game cutscene. More than anything, this movie has just shown me how hard it is to make a good first movie as a studio. It is so abundantly clear that this is PlayStation Studios' first movie because everything on a technical level failed spectacularly. The constant editing cuts made it impossible to focus on anything, the directing is unremarkable, the script is awful, it's just a mess. I'm sure that the comments will be flooded with people saying that I shouldn't have expected much from an action movie, but I just can't disagree. I really didn't expect much out of this experience. I just wanted something light and easy. I wanted a funny action movie. I got terrible action and little to no comedy. Good day.